Alright guys, this weekend I got to watch Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, the sequel to Ready or Not. And yeah, the original movie was a really cool concept at the time. You know, it was basically lady has to survive on her own up against a whole house full of people trying to hunt her down. And it feels like in the preceding years we've gotten several movies that are very closely mirrored to that. In fact, another one comes out this upcoming week. It's actually called, I think it's called They Will Kill You, I think. And if you watch the trailer for that movie, it's eerily similar to this movie. So I don't know, I haven't watched that movie yet. I'm gonna go watch that this Thursday, but I don't know, I just thought I'd mention that weird thing is happening where a lot of movies are starting to mirror each other, you know, like this and what was the other one, Abigail, I think. There's a couple more that are very similar in tone and style and even premise, so kind of interesting. But anyways, my main thing about this movie when I was walking into it was, how are they gonna make another one of these and not have it just be the exact same movie again that we already watched? Because the trailer even kind of made it seem that way, right? Like we're doing it again, you know. She is captured once again by a group full of devil worshipping rich people, and now she's being hunted down and has to survive. But this time she has a sister, and that seemed to be the plot based on the trailer. And you know, for the most part, that is what the movie is, right? However, I will say they managed to keep it fresh. The humor is still very much in place. I think they tried to make the villains as memorable as possible, each one having their own different style and different little character moments. And you know, for the most part, I think it works, right? Like, I enjoyed the villains in this one, but it does still kind of feel like we're just doing the first movie again. So okay, I do think the added element of there being a family involved is pretty cool, right? Because not only does the main character have a family, but even the villains have families. And so the family members of the villains get involved because now they all have to, it's a much more structured game where, like, if one of them gets eliminated, one of their immediate family gets to kind of sign in and become the new player of the current game that's happening. And they introduce a lot of interesting rules like that as far as like what is actually happening in this group of families that are all worshiping the same deity, and they all made some kind of deal. It is still a little unclear as to exactly what that deal is and exactly like how it all works, because as far as we're aware in this movie, and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but I'm going to go ahead and go into it. Basically, whoever the winner is of the game controls the world. It's not entirely clear how, like, it controls how, and not really clear. All we know is that you have this title and this ring, and you control everything, just, I guess, through devil magic, I guess. And so I do kind of wish, as much as they expanded the lore in this one, I do still have some questions, and maybe they're saving that for sequels. Maybe they're like, okay, we'll go more in depth as to like what actually was the deal for all these families. How exactly does this all work? Or maybe they kind of want to just leave it as it is, you know? Because I will say this, the first movie felt very much like a closed loop. You did not need a sequel, and this movie kind of feels the same way. You don't need a sequel to this one. You can very much just end the story here and just let those questions kind of linger, right? Just use your imagination, I guess. But I get the feeling that that's not what's going to happen. I get the feeling that they're definitely going to continue this story on, and they're going to have another group of rich people who are from some other part of the world, and they're going to keep expanding the lore outwards, which I'm okay with, as long as it's well written and the humor is still there and the kills are still crazy, and like, that's, as long as you can keep this tone up, fine. Okay, go ahead and make a whole franchise out of it. I don't really have a problem with that. But you know, like I said, you can pretty much end it here, and I will get into one spoiler thing here that is about the ending, so you can stop here if you want to stop here. So here we go, spoiler alert. This movie ends in a way where they almost did something really interesting, and they decided to pull back and not do that thing because I guess they wanted their protagonist to remain likable, because if they did this thing, if they went through with it, you would maybe not be on their side for the next movie, if there is a next movie. Basically, the protagonist gets the opportunity to win the game and be in control of the entire world. The only real downside is that she would essentially be selling her soul to the devil, and have to participate in all of the weird legal binding shenanigans that these games ensue, right? So she ends up not doing that, and she sabotages the whole thing and seemingly kills off everyone in the group and destroys this whole thing, which again, like, we'll see if there's a sequel or not. But they definitely could have ended this in a way where she just decides to be in charge of everything, and she's in control now, and she has all the power. And it feels like they almost were going to do that. Like, maybe that was an early draft and they decided to not do that. But I'll tell you, that kind of would have made me even more interested in a sequel than the way they left it here. Here, it's fine. I enjoyed it. But they don't need a sequel. They can just end it here. But if they had let her have all the power and, like, let her essentially rule the world, that's a sequel I want to see. So, I don't know. That's just me. I understand why they didn't do it. She has to remain a likable person, because otherwise, you know, you're not going to root for her anymore, right? Like, she could probably die and then you wouldn't care, I guess, right? But, okay. Anyways, yeah, that's Ready or Not 2. Here I Come. Weird title still. I don't... Anyways. And yeah, I enjoyed this one. You know, I don't think it's as strong as the first one, especially because it definitely does still have that, some of that, like, sequelitis, sort of like, hey, we're doing the same movie again with some added twists, right? Which maybe in horror as a genre is kind of unavoidable, having that feeling. But yeah, I guess we'll have to find out if there's a third one or not. Anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.